Joined now by the Todd father, Brendon Todd. First of all, Todd father, I got to ask you this. We were just talking before we started. You got people on the golf course calling you Todd father, and we're taking credit for that nickname. I love it.
Absolutely. I've never been called the Todd father until you coined it. And about a dozen times a year, I'll get a fan just hollering at me across the fairway, Todd father, let's go, make a birdie. So it's pretty good.
That's tremendous. Let's talk about this year. You have played a lot of golf this year. You're now in your 20th event playing at the Memorial, and you're currently sitting 50th in the FedEx Cup. Why so many events? That top 50 pretty important this year?
Yeah, really important, obviously, with the surfacing of the designated events. So for one, this season, there being designated events, I'm playing a couple places that maybe I wouldn't have played because the purses are $20 million. And I'm not going to skip the golf courses that I really like for my game, like Colonial last week, like AT&T Pebble Beach, in order to play the designated. So for me, it's kind of a double schedule. Trying to play a little bit more to make sure I hit the places I really like while also playing the designated. And then, it's a really important season. I'm 37 and the tour is changing a lot. And so with the rise of designated events next year and them going to 70-man fields and 50 guys this year being exempt into every designated event next year, which will be no cut events, $20 million purses, it'd be really, really great this year to finish in the top 50 and be exempt into all of those events next year. So play a little bit extra to make sure I try and give myself the best chance to get top 50.
So does that mean that you really don't have a certain number of events that you're going to play in? You're going to play in as many events as you can to ensure that you're in that, in that top 50, maintaining that position?
Absolutely. I paced myself a little bit more at the beginning of the year where I tried to only play 2 or 3 times in a row max and always have a week off. But we're kind of getting into that summer stretch where, I'll play a bunch of times before the FedEx Cup until I feel like I'm in a good place where I could take a week or 2 off.
Let's talk about the year that you have had, because in many ways it's a typical Todd father year. You hit a lot of fairways, you're getting the ball on the green. But what's different this year is the short game has really gotten better. You're 4th currently on the PGA Tour in strokes gained around the green. And I'm wondering, have you altered technique? Have you altered philosophy? We're talking a little short game during the show, so I'm curious to find out if there's something you can provide our viewers with some insights about how they can get better with their short game.
Well, number one, I'd say my short game has always been the strength of my game. But I've never had a year where I've been top 5 strokes gained around the greens. And 1 year ago, I started working with James Steekman on my short game, who you know really well.
Yep.
He's a master in the short game instruction area. He's probably been doing it for 30 years. He learned from Seve Ballesteros and his brother, who was phenomenal. So, I think that his wisdom and his teaching has really bled over into my improvement in my short game areas. And I think he's just taught me some different ways to hit some of the shots around the greens. And then he's also taught me how to recognize the lie and make sure I'm picking the correct shot, the correct club to hit each time. And I'm sure that just incrementally has made me a little bit better every week.
So have you altered club selection, or is it more technique, or are you starting first fundamentally, hey, the golf ball is sitting in this particular lie, it requires this type of shot, I need more loft, or I need to make some sort of enhancement to what I'm doing?
Yeah, I'd say it's the latter. I think he's really brought my awareness up into reading the lie and selecting the amount of loft I need to play, the amount of spin, where to land it a little bit better than I did before, versus being a little bit more of like a one-trick pony where I was always maybe picking, a little bit of like a pitch and run or a pitch and check shot. Now maybe I'm running it a little bit more, I'm flopping it a little bit more, just playing the more appropriate shot that gets the ball a little bit closer to the hole more often, and that leads to more strokes gained. I also would say I've probably holed more shots from around the greens this year, and that bumps your strokes gained up significantly.
And I'm curious because there's a lot of people that won't hole one for a handful of years, let alone I've holed more this year. Is there something that goes on into holding these shots around the green?
I think the more times you're picking the right shot, a skilled player around the greens like myself, the more times you're getting the ball to just kind of trickle around the cup, the more times it's going to fall in. So I think I'm just giving myself better percentages each time.
All right, so that then leads down this other path, and that is allocation of practice time. Because when I'm out on tour, and I have done this a lot working with various players, it seems like on the PGA Tour, the practice allocation is way heavier in the short game area than it is out on the practice tee. Have you even added more time to developing these skills that you have acquired in the short game area, and maybe even altered that a little bit? And then to that end, what would you say that percentage is? Is it 20-80, 25-75? What's the percentage?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I definitely chipping and putting is the majority of my practice. My golf swing hasn't changed in 5 years since I've been working with Bradley Hughes. So, for me, 45 minutes to an hour at a time on the driving range is plenty. And then I might spend an hour on my chipping and an hour on my putting during that practice session. And that's pretty consistent for me every day in, day out. So I'm going to be spending about 66% of my time on my short game every day. And I think that the reason that I've chipped it better is the knowledge I have from James about picking the right shots and then practicing that way. So instead of standing in one place with a bag of balls, hitting the same shot over and over again, or working on the same skill, I'm constantly moving around the green, dropping 2 or 3 balls, playing at 2 or 3 different pins, always adjusting the shot and having more random practice. And then if there's a shot I need to work on, I'll hit 4 or 5, but then I quickly move to a new shot. So I'm enhancing my skill at hitting all the different variants of shots more often. And when you do that for an hour a day, you're going to get better.
And does that mean that you are also altering your wedge makeup in your set? Have you kept the same wedges, or have you kind of
I've
added
played the same wedge setup for 15 years as a pro. So I play 4 wedges, 46 degrees, 50, 54, and 59. I play Titleist Vokey wedges, and I really haven't changed those a lot, but I think I just use them a little bit better now than I ever have. One other thing James and I do is we do a lot of wedge practice as well. So we hit 10 random shots between 50 and 125 with my GC quad, and we're always picking a different yardage, and we're measuring how far I get from that yardage, and we're keeping a total over 10 shots. So I'm trying to have a variance of 25 yards from my intended shots or less over 10 shots, which averages 2.5 yards per shot. If you're within 2.5 yards of your intended distance every time, you're going to be pretty close to the hole.
Wow. So in effect, what's happened is that you've done some alteration to your technique, but it also sounds too like you're really a lot more focused in the practice time and also what you're doing with your practice, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. James has just tightened up my practice techniques, a little bit of form here as well. We're keeping the club a little bit more in front of my chest on my chipping, not getting it hinged and behind me as much, which allows me a little bit better contact, picking better shots, practicing them more often, and things are trending in the right direction around the greens.
I want to ask you another thing relative to this as well. Are you an individual that tends to pick a landing spot where you want that golf ball to hit the green first and then roll out? And are you predicting that? Or is it just a feel, hey, I feel like I got to just hit it that distance, and then you go ahead and you hit the distance and you're not really aware of where you're trying to land the golf ball?
Always picking a landing spot. But for me, my last look is always at the cup or the pin. And then I'm just kind of, the landing spot is sort of in the peripheral for me, and I'm just reacting to the lie and the finish spot, and I'm hoping I'm going to hit the landing spot on the way.
All right, so let's talk now about the remainder of the schedule that's ahead of you, because there is a lot of golf left, including a couple of majors, and then you've got the playoffs. There's a ton of golf left, and you're already 20 events into this. When you start looking at the remainder of this season, how many events do you imagine that you're going to end up playing?
Well, I'm going to play here at I'm probably going to play 7 more times before the FedEx Cup, and then hopefully 3 FedEx events. So I could play 10 more times.
And so then as a result of that, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the time away from the golf course and maybe practice rounds or things of that nature, because it is very fatiguing. And also, too, we're getting into that part of the season where it really starts to get fairly hot. So give me an idea of a week when let's say you come up to Hartford, you're playing the Travelers. What will that week look like for you?
Yeah, so it'll stick to my normal schedule where I will play 9 holes on Tuesday, 9 holes on Wednesday, and I'll probably have an hour and a half practice each day as well, and then 1 workout on Tuesday, a little bit of recovery on Wednesday, good sleep, good nutrition, and I should be ready to go that week. And I stick to that schedule almost every week. If I arrive Monday morning, I might get a Monday afternoon practice in. But the key for me is just seeing every golf hole one time, having my hour and a half of practice every day, and getting good rest. And I feel like if I stick to that, I usually have a pretty good chance to have energy for the tournament and play well.
All right, let's jump to another topic here. That is the PGA Championship. It wasn't the week that you had hoped, but at the same time, there's a lot of positives that the year has offered. But you got a chance to play with a rangefinder. I'm curious, did you use the rangefinder during the week of the PGA Championship? And then, to that end, do you think this is something that should not be on the PGA Tour, or you think, hey, it's no big deal? Because a lot of players have come out recently and said, you know what, after thinking about this, the rangefinder really does have some advantages for pace of play, or for making things a little bit more understandable when I'm out of position.
I think the rangefinder can be really helpful for out of position, and even, we have the pin sheet, we have good yardage books, but if you get to your golf ball and you laser the pin, you can subtract what the pin's on from where you shot, and what the front is, what the pin is, and you're ready to go. My caddy and I didn't use it a lot at the PGA because I was kind of within the confines of the trees on most holes. So we were near a sprinkler head. I was able to walk it up. And he's old school. Mike Hicks is my caddy. He's been doing this for 41 years. He's got his ways of doing it. So we were still pacing off the yardage and getting the number. And unfortunately, pace of play wasn't too fast at the PGA Championship. So we weren't too worried about him playing it quickly.
And then finally, the story coming out of the PGA Championship, and there were a ton, but the Michael Block story, PGA professional having the week that he had. Right. You obviously have great respect for PGA professionals. Just your thoughts on the week that was for a guy like Michael Block. We know we're going to see him a couple more times out on the PGA Tour, but the week that was the PGA Championship for Michael Block.
Yeah, it was really special. It was great to see one of the PGA professionals have a great week and get into contention. I think he was in the group in front of me. I could hear the roars. He was playing really well the first 2 days. So hats off to him for playing really well there. And, I wish him success the rest of the year. And, hopefully next year I can beat him.
Todd, Father, you're the best, my man. It's always good to see you. Appreciate the time, and best of luck the rest of the year. We'll see you up at Travelers in Hartford.
Sounds good. Thanks, Michael.
All right, you bet.